Welcome back to another episode of the Bastards of Boston Baseball. This is a new era of Red Sox baseball. Through every twist and turn, every major development, we are all on this journey together. This is going to be the most honest Sox podcast you're going to hear. No BS, just the truth. I'm your host, Charlie Smith, coming to you from sunny Los Angeles. You can find me on Twitter/X at Smith_MLB. My other hosts for this episode are going to be Chris Felico coming off the bench, stepping in for Terry Cushman, who is rumored to be moving to Canada over the recent changes in the administration, who's coming to us from Warwick, New York. Again, thank you, Chris. And Jeremy Schilling, who's coming back from Boca Raton, Florida, as jacked as ever. How are you both doing, and where can the fans find you on Twitter/X?
Yeah, so you could find me on Twitter/X at Saved by Grace, SAVDBUY Grace.
Love it. Jeremy, where can the fans find you? Hopefully you remember.
At JT Shill. Maybe there's a 20 on the end of that. I'll never call it X, so it's Twitter. And I am frustrated, Charlie, is the term I'm going with today.
Frustrated is how I think all four of us, if Terry was here, would say it. The Red Sox unfortunately dropped 2 of 3 to one of the worst teams in baseball, dropping the first game 11-1, committing what feels like a stupid 5 errors in one game, dropping the next one 3-2 before winning 3-1 in really the game that's, just no words for it for the first 7+ innings. Garrett Crochet goes 7+, struck out 11, and carried a no-hitter past the 7th inning. So literally, it's going to take an act of God for us to do great on what feels like a regular occasion. So like you boys, I'm also pretty frustrated. I watched the third game a little bit later and was feeling really good. 4 innings in, I'm like, here we go. It's going to be this inning. It's going to be this inning. And I pleasantly surprised by who did what they did to win us game 3. It was literally Crochet, Story, and friends. So let's lead us off as we lost 2 of 3 with our duds before our studs. So Chris, who was your dud for this series?
It was hard to pick one, I got to be honest. There were so many. But I'm going to go with, unfortunately, Rafael Devers. He is my dud in this series. He had us going, obviously, against the Cardinals. He even had a decent series against the Blue Jays in which we pretty much almost got swept, should have got swept, if we're all being honest. And then came out, and I was hoping it's the White Sox, one of the worst teams historically ever last year. They're not much better this year. 0-10 at the plate, in which he had 6 strikeouts. Just never got anything going, left some ducks on the pond. And when there was a big hit needed, forget about the first game. That game was over pretty quickly. But in the second game, and even today, when that game got close, he just wasn't getting anything going. Very disappointing. So that's my dud.
Jeremy, anything you want to add?
I mean, it's obviously feast or famine. He's going to hit. I have very little doubt he's going to be around 30 and 100 and be a big part of why hopefully this team rights the ship. But 0 for 10, I mean, it's just frustrated. He seemingly was out of it. Now he's back in it.
Yeah, the weird thing about it is, we really harped on the fact that he was like 0 for the season to start it off, and then had a wild last game against St. Louis in that 18-7 victory, had 4 hits, 4 runs scored, had 3 RBIs. I mean, he was just doing everything right. And then since then, for the last 2 series, it's kind of almost regressed back where we're not knocking in runs. We've had only a couple of extra base hits. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think Rafi Devers has scored a run since the St. Louis series. So that's 7 straight games where he hasn't scored a run, and you're supposed to be one of the biggest guys here. And he was my dud for that first series against Baltimore when he was just striking out. It felt like every at bat, and you can't go 0 for the series. You can't do it. You definitely can't do it in 2 of the first couple series of the season and strike out half as many times. No, you didn't strike out every at-bat, but every other at-bat's not that good. And when people are on base, I expect you to knock them in. If you're not knocking in runs and you're not scoring runs, that's a problem. The Red Sox cannot sustain that with the current starting rotation, set up in the bullpen, and bats that we have in the lineup that have, for the most part, been very cold to start the year. So, yeah, Devers for dud, unfortunately. I mean, I've said it before. He's going to be a stud more times than he's going to be a dud. But if the goal is to be 3,100, we got to get the motor going, because right now it's like lethargic bats. Nothing's working. And, get him a torpedo bat. Half the league's already using one, and maybe that'll get him a little bit of luck, because it's just been bad.
Torpedo
Chris, anything
bat
else
doesn't Torpedo bat doesn't help if you don't hit the ball, Charlie.
Jeremy, always good for a laugh.
He needs a badminton battle right now.
Yeah, he needs a tennis racket.
He needs anything right now. We still love Devers. I mean, don't get us wrong. We're just frustrated. We know that he can do it.
The concern is when you go into these phases where you're not putting the ball in play. It's one thing to go 0 for 10 and have 1 K, but when you're striking out more than you're not.
Yeah, 60% of your bats. I mean, it's not sustainable.
He's second in Major League Baseball, so it's a problem, and this isn't who he is.
Right.
So he's got to get it figured out, and he will.
Absolutely. Why don't you hit us with your dud for the series, Jeremy?
This pains me because I love the player. But Jarren Duran was not good in this series. He only played twice, but he went 0 for 5 with a K and 1 for 5 with 2 Ks for 1 for 10. The reason why I chose him is just to highlight how important he is to this lineup. When he gets hot, and he will, the lineup's going to turn over. He's going to cause havoc. Stolen bases, first to third, triples, like it's going to happen. But when he's a non-factor, and then the guy hitting second behind him is not even putting the ball in play, it's just not going to. It's the opposite of setting the tone. It's just you're starting out in neutral. You can't get going. The rest of the speed's at the bottom of the lineup, so it's just they score 6 runs like they did in this series without going to the box score. My first question would be, what did Duran do? He must have not gone on base, and that's exactly the answer in this White Sox series. So another guy, I'm not worried about him as long as he stays healthy. I think he's going to be a menace. But in a series, you only score 6 runs. Jarren Duran has to get it going here as we go towards the Rays series.
Chris?
Yeah, no, it's a good call out, because the truth is, if this offense, like Devers is the wagon, he's going to carry us right wherever we're going to ultimately go. But the truth is, Duran he's the ignition, right? Like he's going to start everything. And I think especially when Devers and just the offense in general is slumping as bad as they are, especially in this series against like a terrible team, him not being on base, even if it's through drawing walks or just getting on and wreaking havoc and making that pitcher think, like, is this guy going to steal? Getting him off his motion, his throws, and his timing creates so much opportunity for the person that's batting in the box. So yeah, if he's not getting on, it's going to kill the offense, especially when we're down and slumping this bad. So it's a good point.
He's not the only person. It's frustrating, and his level of importance, as Jeremy was talking about, has never been higher. I mean, this is a guy that was a lethal, like 4-5 way player. He could hurt you defensively. He hurts you with speed, can get on base, hits for power, gets on base with average. And this year, I mean, he hasn't played every single game, but I'm going to say there are three things that if you remove it, major flags. So 1 game against St. Louis, had 2 RBIs, scored 3 runs, had a couple hits, stolen base during the series. Great job. 1 game against Baltimore, had 3 RBIs, was able to get on base, had a triple in that game. And then in the Toronto series, had that game with 2 doubles. You remove all those numbers. You've played 14 games or 13 games. You have 1 double. You have no triples. You have 3 RBIs, and your batting average is under 200. We can't have that if you're supposed to be the leadoff guy. Him and Devers not being warm right now there are 2 of the reasons why the Boston Red Sox are sitting where they're sitting. I raised my hand and said, I'm picking the Red Sox to win the division right now. I did not anticipate Rafael Devers and Jarren Duran slumping as bad as they would have to start the season. I really didn't. And if I knew, crystal ball in the back room, that they were both going to start off real cold, I don't know if it would have changed my outlook too much. Maybe I would have said maybe second place, but I wouldn't have said that the Red Sox are going to go to the World Series. I don't think the Red Sox are, in any way, shape, or form in danger, because this is the best team we've had in several years, and it's not even close. So Jarren Duran, like Rafael Devers, they just need to start clicking. That's literally it. Anything else you guys want to add on Jarren Duran?
So he's not hitting lefties. Stat 3 hits against left-handed pitching so far this season. That's a problem. Another anecdote I have is I was listening to the Fitz Perez game on the radio, and there was commentary from the booth about last year. Every time Cora told Duran he wasn't going to play, it was like a knockdown, drag-out fight, and I think Duran won some of those conversations and played on days he wasn't supposed to. I guess Cora went to Duran before game 2 and said, "You're not going to play at all. Like, you're off today. We're just going to give you a total day. There aren't going to be pitch hitting. There's going to be nothing." And he just accepted it. So I think that might go to where his personal Duran frustration is with how he started. He's obviously tough on himself. And
Absolutely.
for the player to acknowledge that he needs to step away for a day, I mean, I think that anecdote is worth something.
Yeah, I mean, baseball is one aspect of life, but it is not life. And he's had a lot of personal stuff come up. He's been very vocal about those things. And I'm not really sure how I feel. Obviously I support the player. It's scary that those thoughts had crossed that person's mind, because truth be told, that happens more often than not, and people don't know. They're so surprised to hear that that stuff is happening or had happened. And yeah, that does play in your head. And people will say some really stupid things, not knowing that people are suffering and struggling. So,
Well,
here's
I
to
hope
hoping that
that's
he
not the
can.
case.
Yeah,
I'm just bringing the point where he like last year he was hot. I mean, hot almost the entire year, and
absolutely. He's on
and
fire.
so it's like Duran is, by not having a voice when he was told. It's like he's like tacit. What the term is wrong there. He's acknowledging that
Yeah,
he needs a break and he needs to step away for a day and not think about it.
right. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add on Duran? No? Cool. So mine for this series, there were a couple of options, but for me, I went with Casas. This is someone who went just 2 for 7 in the series, had a double, just a walk, did not play in one of the games. But again, this is another player that for the first month of the season, in the month of March, only had 1 hit, did not play. Obviously the whole month, there's only a couple of days in that month where you actually get to play baseball, but going 1 for 17, struck out nearly half of his at-bats. And since he's come up this month, he's done a little bit better, which isn't saying much. You go 1 for 17, and now you're 8 for 37 right now. You still only have 1 home run. You've had just a handful of RBIs. We're really not getting the job done. We're leaving people on base. And worst of all, no one's afraid to pitch to you. That's a problem. So you have Devers kind of scuffling a little bit, Jarren Duran scuffling a little bit, and then Mr. Casas struggling again. So another reason why the Red Sox, who a lot of us had picked, maybe this is a potential 4,100 guy, but I think it was Terry that said, possibly Terry, you're not a 4,100 guy until you do it. And he hasn't done it yet. And this is going to be really disappointing if we can't even get to 30, 80 from somebody like Tristan Casas, because you can't have yet another black hole from somebody like that on that side of the plate. You just can't. So, Chris, anything you want to add to the Casas struggles so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, you covered most of it. I mean, there's another point that he also had a pretty big error in that game on Friday that led to like 1 million runs scoring.
Yeah.
Those that have heard me on the show, I know I'm not a big Casas guy, never have been. I couldn't agree more with Terry's point. Like, you're not that player until you are that player, and you haven't been that player. He's seemingly a constant distraction one way or another, whether it's his play or just some of the goofy things that he does or says. And that's all fun and games when you're Vladimir Guerrero and you're putting up the numbers and you're getting the contract because you produced. He hasn't. He's a personality at this point. nothing more. And it's great that he has plate discipline here and there, but when it's not leading to, W's and results individually, even at least for him, that's contributing to wins, I really could care less at this point. So yeah, I mean, that's what I've got on Casas for now.
Jeremy, anything you want to?
Yeah, my feelings on Tristan Casas are long and documented. Then you add in the fact that he's having trouble catching the baseball at first base, and I just lose patience immediately because I'm already like a hair trigger away on his antics and the fact that he hasn't produced, and now he can't catch the ball. It's a problem. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
2 for 7. He did have a double, and he had 1 walk and 1 K. He's not affecting the games in a positive way. It's like the eye test. We can look at the box score, but he's not positively affecting the games. He can't make a difference with his legs. He runs like he's carrying an appliance. He's not athletic. And so when Duran, for example, who I think is going to be fine in the very near future, he gets on an error or a walk, and he's immediately like just a complete issue, right? It's not showing up in the box score, but he's affecting the game.
Right.
That's not Casas. He needs to be driving the ball to affect the game, and he's not driving the baseball.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's just where I'm at. And by the way, note, Cora moved him to 6th today. So he's out of the middle of the lineup and he's down to 6th. So Cora is now acknowledging that they've got to put him in a different position and move people around to try to get people going, and he's one of them. So, let's see what that does to his psyche. Baseball's so difficult from a mental perspective. Duran highlighted the anecdote with Duran accepting the day off. Casas is being moved down the lineup. He's obviously got an ego. How's he going to handle that? Is he going to go the wrong way, or is he going to use that as the motivation to get back to the cleanup spot? I think we'll probably find out pretty soon. But I mean, there's so many things going on here, and then I don't worry about Duran. He's a gamer, he just goes out and plays. But Casas with all the goofy stuff, I don't know which way he's going to go with this.
I'll say this much though: the errors were frustrating. Blake Sabol, someone that I'm actually really high on. I'm really hoping that he can right the ship. The catcher's interference is annoying because to me that's just not paying attention, like not having a clear eye on what's happening in front of you. Now, there are some batters that try to draw it, but it's hard when you do it twice. And it's hard when it happens once and you've been there. So you can chalk it up to nerves and, a new feeling, new team trying to get with the program. But the whole team just felt like it fell apart. When you lose 11-1, that's not just one person's fault. You're not hitting and the pitching's not working, and fielding possibly could be a part of it. 5 errors. I've never really liked the idea that catcher's interference is called an error, but it is what it is. If you were to say that Casas had made that play and the inning was over and the at-bats had never changed to see if that would have altered anything. Baldwin flies out. Majoth hits a single. Narvaez hits a ground out. So he hits into that. So that's 2 outs. Amaya struck out. The next inning would have started where Vargas doubles to left. Nobody's on base. Luis Robert Jr. singles into center. Maybe he scores. Maybe he doesn't. Sosa singles. That would drive in a run. So we're still allowing a run or 2 either way. The whole team, unfortunately, just fell apart. At that point, Vargas, Robert, Sosa, that's 3 hits with no outs. Then Vaughn flies out, and then Taylor doubles to center. You still only have 1 out, and 3 runs have scored. Again, assuming that the at-bats are the exact same, just you're shifting the outs around. We still got completely worked in that game. The arrangements that, the play call, the pitch calling, it just wasn't there. And you can also chalk it up again to Sabol still learning how to call a major league game. Maybe he's not ready yet. I would love to say, yes, he's ready. So that way there's going to be less pressure on Connor Wong when he's 100% or 85%, because let's be honest, no catcher's ever at 100%. That's the only position in the lineup that's taken an absolute whooping for the season. You play 162 times, you're really probably playing maybe $120, 130 games if you're like premier creme de la creme catcher. And right now, we don't have one. The fact that we don't have an elite catcher is hurting this team. It really is. And we can say all we want about Connor Wong and Blake Sable and the other, is it Carlos Nevaez? Is it
Narvaez.
Narvaez? Is Narvaez? So another one, right? None of those guys are elite. None of those guys are top 10 catchers in either league, period. I would love to see one of them eventually become a top 10 guy in those leagues, but it isn't the case right now. I don't even think they're top 15 options. Like right now, Connor Wong, when he comes back, he's going to get that position by default. And he really needs to figure out how to learn to call a better game, because right now, what we're seeing, it ain't it. And it can't continue to be it, because right now, this team is playing 500 baseball, and that's assuming no other additional injuries take place. Now, we still don't have some of our guys back. Bayo's not back. Cutter Crawford's not here. Masataka Yoshida's not back yet. So there are a couple names that are missing, but even the people that aren't missing right now are kind of feel like they're missing in the lineup because they're just not performing to the expectations that we had set, or most Red Sox fans and baseball fans had set before the season had started. Anything else that you guys want to add to Casas?
Yeah, I might be nitpicking here. I don't know if any of you observed this today, but there was a couple of moments. It was odd, like when there was ground balls going to him and like Crochet was going to cover first. He lobbed a couple to him. Didn't really call him off when he was taking it to the back, but there was one where he like launched it at Crochet completely unnecessarily. And at that point, he's throwing a no-hitter. It was a 0-0 game, and it almost looked like Casas was frustrated in that moment. I don't know if any of you picked up on that. I mean, he threw like a complete fastball at him from like 10 feet away, completely unnecessary. Could have just lobbed it right to him. And I just thought it was really odd. And I know in the inning prior to that, he had struck out. So could be just reading these things. Could be the fact that I just don't like Casas, but
could be him trying too hard because he's frustrated offensively.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's almost like it's mental now, and he's like carrying it over into his fielding at this point. Just odd.
That happens, man. That happens. It's one of the reasons why I highlighted where he's at mentally with being dropped in the lineup. Maybe he's frustrated by that. Maybe he's frustrated with his manager.
Well,
there's a lot of frustration. I mean, there's so much frustration. And when things, when your pitcher goes out there who has 5 minutes of Major League Baseball experience and goes out there and goes 5 innings, allows 2 hits, and strikes out 5, and your bullpen lets you down, your bats let you down, and just it feels like everything is kind of against you. And then on top of that, you leave the game because you're not healthy anymore.
I got a question for you guys.
That's bad. Yeah, go.
Off topic. It's not Casas, but you talked a lot about Connor Wong, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Twins,
sure.
I believe Vasquez is on his last year of his deal. He's only $10 million. You calling Minnesota and seeing if you get Vasquez here?
Absolutely not. No, I think he's washed. I think he's so
Yeah,
washed.
I think that's an overreaction. If you're going to go get a catcher, I think you wait towards the deadline and go get one off a bad team that you see a future in. I think Narvaez has been fine. He seems like the ideal catcher, defense first. He's had a couple of knocks, couple of RBIs. He's aggressive defensively. He's thrown behind some runners at first, and I'm not going to get into pop times and all this, but he's good throwing a second base. I don't have an issue with Narvaez. You just got to buy time until Wong gets back, because this team needs Wong offensively.
100%.
I don't think we're going to go do a retread with Vasquez at the end of his career. That makes no sense to me. And the other thing is Henry isn't going to spend $10 million. So are you going to get them to eat a large portion of that money? And then you're still doing the retread thing and all my other issues. So for me, that's a complete no.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, by the way, I just have to see the overreaction.
Yeah. No, I think he's washed right now. The guy's 3 for 24. He's had a couple extra base hits, has 1 run, has no RBIs, struck out a couple times. He's 34 years old. You don't get better with age as a catcher. Like Yadier Molina was a unicorn. He was like the only one that seemed to age a little bit more and still perform. The best of Vasquez is behind him. His best year was 2019. He was never even remotely close to that after that year. And I mean, that's it. Jeremy kind of hit on it, but even so, I would really have to do a deep dive on catcher because there are so few good ones in baseball now. It's a position that, if you can find a star that's a catcher, that's your crown jewel. We traded him away to Chicago to get Garrett Crochet. And Kyle Teal was on another planet to start the year. Through the first 5 games, had 3 homers, 10 RBIs, hitting 300 something. Granted, he had a home run and 6 or 7 RBIs in one game. We've seen players do that, but I mean, I don't know when we're going to have another catching prospect that's going to hit Kyle Teal level. And Kyle Teal may never even hit the point of where, some of the greater catchers in the last decade are, right? So it's just a hopeful expectation that he can. And if he does, great, good for him. I'm happy for him. It's not his fault that he got traded. If we don't make the trade for Garrett Crochet, we're paying way over $250 million to get him to join the Red Sox. That's just fact, assuming he does what he's doing. But, to the point of duds and stuff, when you haven't gotten your big contract yet and you're playing like garbage or you're not performing, you are flushing millions of dollars over the course of your contract down the toilet because you're not able to perform. That's not me throwing shots. That's me just stating facts. If you're hitting 200 with a home run and 3 RBIs through the first 20 games of the season, no, I'm not multiplying that by 8 and assuming that's going to be your season because everyone's performing kind of poorly at the present moment. But you're not even remotely close to 4,100 if you're hitting 10 home runs and 50 RBIs on the season. Facts are facts. I deal with numbers on a daily basis. And if the math ain't mathin', I mean, it's kind of hard. 2 + 2 can only equal 4. That's it. So he needs to get it together. The players need to really rally behind one another and figure it out because we cannot afford to drop a series against the White Sox in the month of April. We're not even halfway through the month yet. This, I thought we're going to take 2 out of 3, maybe sweep because we need to. And we lost 2 out of 3. Crochet was going to win that game no matter what. It's a, revenge game. It's Chicago. We should be taking 2 out of 3. There's no excuse why you can't win 2 out of 3. That's it. Any other things that you guys want to add for those 3 duds?
No, I think,
yeah. Yeah. So I think honestly, the only one that comes to mind that we didn't actually talk about was Kelly. And Kelly did strike out 3 in his appearance, but he gave up the home run to Luis Robert, and that's what tied the game. And then eventually they lost it in the 9th, which is really unfortunate because Chapman had been pretty good all year. And that was unfortunately the blip because we didn't have run support. So that was really the only other dud. So with that being said, we'll shift into studs. Chris, who was your stud for the series?
We just kind of foreshadowed it. I had Luis Robert Jr. I mean, you could add any of the pitching they held us completely down in the series. Like you said, it should have been a sweep. 2 out of 3, the worst case scenario. Even this Crochet game, it was too close for comfort, but I'm giving it to Luis Robert Jr. I know he only had 2 hits, but the 2 hits that he did have, a lot of damage. 3 RBIs, one of them being a home run. He had 4 runs in this series, 2 or 3 walks, I believe. I mean, there was no one that really, really stood out from their offense. It seemed like everyone kind of had a couple dribblers here and there and a couple of RBIs, got on base. But that one stuck out to me, especially with the situation in Game 2 of the series.
Absolutely. Jeremy, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just anecdotally, I always, he's a big guy, athletic guy, center fielder, and he hit 38 bombs in 23. And I thought, get this guy off the White Sox and into a major market. And he's going the wrong way. Super slow start. Of course, he only, he hits against the Red Sox, but he hasn't hit yet. He's hitting below 200 and he's really regressed, so, and that's probably because he's in Chicago. I just feel like he could be a better player. He's not. I don't watch him on a daily basis, so I don't have anything beyond that to tell you. But just my comment on the stud.
I'll say this much about Luis Robert Jr. I think a bunch of the White Sox last year quit. To your point, 38 homers, 80 RBIs, hitting 264, had 20 stolen bases. Following year, he plays 45 less games, 14 homers, 35 RBIs, still strikes out 141 times and has a batting average of 224. On base at 278 and is sluggage just under 380, OPS 657. That's not telling me you're like a superstar and you deserve that opportunity. In 2020, when he came to the league, he played 56 games, had 11 homers, 30 RBIs, was hitting 230. We thought, okay, cool. Let's just see what happens. But if you're to play 162 games with this guy, I mean, he does have health issues. He's really only played one quasi full season, and that being that 23 year that Jeremy was talking about with 38 home runs. I think he could do great on a team that really needs an outfielder that can perform. The problem is you need to be here. You need to be there. The best ability is availability. And if you can't play more than 100 games in your season, which you've only done twice, and last year was exactly 100 games, you're kind of hindering yourself. And if the goal is to eventually leave Chicago and then perform, teams are going to have to see you perform. And if it takes the final year of that contract for that to happen, yeah, I don't know what Roberts, when his contract expires, but I mean, this is going to be a guy that if he doesn't work on discipline, he's going to strike out 200 times in a year. In 2023, in 145 games, he struck out 172 times. Last year was 141 times and 393 at bats. Like I said, he was able to get on base when he needed to get on base. He also stole 3 bases. So, I mean, you're becoming kind of like the Jarren Duran of last year. You're getting on base, you're scoring runs, you're stealing bases, you're doing what you're supposed to do. When you score 4 runs, you have a couple hits, you steal 3 bases. The guy averaged over a run and averaged exactly 1 stolen base a game. You turned a single into a double into a triple. However you want to look at it, you're stealing 90 feet. And when you steal 90 feet from your opponents, you're making it that much easier to score a run. And they were able to do that. He stole 2 bases in the first game. They dropped 11. He scored 2 of those runs. So, yeah, man, if he can continue putting this together, I bet Chicago's going to be getting a lot of phone calls for his services. I don't think it's going to be the Dodgers, but there's going to be a team that wants an outfielder that has crazy pop. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if, a team with common sense doesn't go after a bat like this. It's perfect. Anything else to add to Luis Robert? Jeremy, who was your stud for the series?
Martin Perez. He was just okay. 4 2/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, both earned. Had bad command, 4 walks, struck out 5. His ERA increased to 1.59. He's been pretty good. Everyone likes this guy. And again, I listened to this game on the radio. They kept commenting on how likable he was when he was here. But his stuff is it just shocks me that he's still going and getting people out. And obviously his ERA is not going to be 1.59. It's probably going to be like 4.5, but he's off to a good start. He mostly matched Fitz in this game. And then the game really changed when Fitz came out with the injury. Kelly came in, and I know they give them enough time to warm up, but it's still a bad spot. And he gives up the home run to tie the game. So he didn't factor in the decision, but he kept him in it even with being off with his command. And that middle game was what swung the series, and I thought he played a pretty big role in it.
Absolutely. Chris, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think to Jeremy's point, Fitz, he was on pace to have probably his best start of his career at that point, prior to him getting injured. And I was really hoping for that to be like catapult some momentum and put us in a position where we could take that series. And, Martin Perez, even though he struggled with his command, he hung in there and he kept the White Sox in it, and was matching Fitz at that point. So, I mean, I think it's a good pick. I wish we could have saw a little bit more of that when he was here, for us, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Martin Perez, I mean, it's crazy to think that it's been 4 years since he pitched as a member of the Red Sox when we were just trying to put scrap heap guys together. Like, I don't think he was a star. And it was really hard for me to process that in the following year when he went to Texas, he exceeded all of the numbers in both years as a member of the Red Sox. In 2 years in Boston, he went 10-13. He won 12 games the following year. In the first 2 years, he had 176 innings with the Red Sox. He threw 196 innings as a member of the Rangers. He struck out 143 guys as a member of the Red Sox over 2 years. He struck out 169 guys in Texas. His ERA never fell below 4.5 as a member of the Red Sox. As a member of the Rangers, it was 2.89. Damn it. Why didn't you do that when you were here? That's really friggin' annoying. And I almost swore. And I know Jeremy would have never let me hear the end of it because I'm the one that instituted this damn swear jar. Martin Perez has had 3 starts this year. He's actually exceeding the 1K per 9. He actually threw 6 no-hit innings against who was it? Minnesota early this year. He struck out 9. He had no hits allowed. It's crazy. The following game, worse. 1 run on 4 hits, 6 in a third, is able to strike out just 4. Game 3 against the Red Sox goes 4 2/3, allows 2 runs on 5 hits, strikes out 5, walks 4. So the bar is starting to fall off. He's starting to look worse. He's 34. This is not, Tom Brady of Major League Baseball, where he's going to perform even better as he gets older. I think he really got lucky in one of those games and then probably had to work really hard in the second one. And then, like, to your point, gave Fitz a run for his money as far as matching him for starting pitching. But man, oh man, when he wants to pitch well, he really can. It's just frustrating that he did that because 10 times out of 10, if my guy's going against Martin Perez, I'm picking my guy because I think Martin Perez just doesn't have it. And then he does that where he's gone 6 innings twice this year. He's still only 1-0 in 3 starts, but his ERA is 1.59. So yeah, frustrating for sure. Absolutely. But he just found a way to be mediocre and didn't even go 5 innings and was able to just get enough done for the team.
Well, it's frustrating because we had him 4 years younger, and I would guarantee if we had started him against the White Sox, a historically bad White Sox team, he would have lost. Like, he wouldn't have done that. He does that against the Sox, who were supposed to have this vaunted offense that we thought was going to break out. We were licking our chops to get out of all these slums. And, yeah, he gave up 2 runs, but, like, it should have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah. And the other thing too is he would have lost that game because the lights are on, but nobody's home. It's like Home Alone, dude. Marv and Larry are going, and they're all the houses are empty for the taking. Nobody's there. You can just do what you want, and you got 3-4 bats that should be doing something, and nothing's happening. So yeah, Martin Perez doesn't have to work too hard. You can walk who you want to walk to face the guys that aren't hitting, and you'll be able to get out of the jam. He threw 91 pitches in 4 2/3. So you're averaging almost 20 pitches an inning, which is pretty bad. And in that 6-inning game, he got 9 strikeouts and threw 93 pitches. So already he was looking like he was gassed. It wasn't it. He's not going to be a guy that can go 100, 110 pitches anymore. That's just not his game. And he's not a flamethrower. He's not going to blow 98 past you. So yeah, it's really frustrating that you have a guy 4 years younger and he just looks done. And then 4 years later, he's like, I feel great. And, revenge game, against a team that really didn't want him. I believe when the Red Sox had the option to pick up the option, they didn't pick up the option. Then they just re-signed him for less money. I'm pretty sure that's what they did with Martin Perez. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
No, you're correct.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add on Martin Perez? All right. Love it. So mine was Davis Martin, who has only been in the majors for a couple of years. 6 innings, 1 run on 6 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, sub 90 pitches. He really didn't have to work too hard because the Red Sox beat themselves in game 1. But he was able to get the win. That was the game that the Red Sox just had their pants ripped off, 11-1. He's had 2 games this year where he's done very, very well, surprisingly enough. And I mean, I can't say anything bad. When you come out there and you go 6 innings, you've done your job. I expect the rest of the team to put it together and get the job done. Martin this year, like I said, 3 games so far, and 2 of them, he's gone 6 innings, allowed 2 runs on 4 hits, none earned, against the Angels. No decision against Detroit, got his lips ripped off, allowed 7 in 5 innings. So again, I thought, okay, cool. This is the guy that we're going to see, a guy who gets shelled. Maybe this is the type of game where our guys can absolutely go off and exceed expectations. And I'm left holding the bag again. So he comes off and just blows the Red Sox away. And I don't think anybody was expecting it. This is a righty thrower. And I keep telling myself, man, just please get a little lift. You have that adorable wall in left field. Just start peppering that. And we're not doing it. And, call it the fact that maybe this is another guy that we haven't seen all too often. And there's not a whole boatload of familiarity, but damn, man, it sucks when the no-name guys are beating you too. So, yeah. Anything you want to add, Chris, to that one?
Yeah, I mean, that game never really seemed like it was close, but I think to your point, like he pitched 6 innings, he averaged a strikeout an inning. I think he only gave up an average of a hit an inning. Only walked one guy. I mean, between Isert and Murphy, they gave up as many hits as he did in 6 in the 2 innings that they pitched, right? But I think what was important is even when that game, because to your point, the Red Sox beat themselves with their defense, and then there's just lack of plate discipline and getting anything going. But he was a lot of that, why we got nothing going. And the fact that when that game was still within reach, you string up a couple of hits, maybe you score a run or two and you get back in that game. He never allowed it. And then once the White Sox scored a bunch of runs, he just buckled down, was like, I'm not losing this game. The game was never a threat. We never were a threat. And it's disappointing because to your point, it's a no-name guy. I've never heard of him. And just another blemish on the season, or an early season for this Red Sox team.
Yeah, my takeaway is that they sleptwalked into this game and it didn't matter who it was. That's it.
Woof.
They laid an egg. They were going to lay an egg. You were going into some situational things, but they only scored 1 run and didn't hit. Everyone in the lineup struck out except for Bregman. You could have put anybody out there, I think, and the Sox weren't prepared to play that day.
A couple of other studs for their team in their bullpen. I don't know Penn Murphy. Penn Murphy faced 5 batters and struck out 4. Like, this is a guy who's 30 years old. I had to look him up because I was like, who is this guy? And then Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer struck out 2 of us in game 3. And, he's the 30-year-old, wonder, never really got a shot, and finally got it towards the end of his, or early 30s, however you want to look at it. His first year in the bigs was last year. Played in 43 games, struck out 1 an inning. I'm kind of surprised that we weren't entertaining this guy for another season. Now he goes to Chicago, and he's dropped 1 full run almost from his ERA. He's striking out more than 1 per inning. It's still early, so who knows what'll happen. But I mean, I don't want to say this is the one that got away, but I mean, dude, even the bullpen. Yeah, we laid 2 eggs, Jeremy. I mean, we probably thought, okay, all we need to do is split the first, 2 games before Crochet comes out and shuts the door, and then we win the series. But if you get your doors blown off in 1 game and you are lethargic in the second one, yeah, you've really kind of left a sour taste in everyone's mouths. This was just, I mean, again, this was not a series we could lose, and we did. So just absolute brutality. We cannot afford to do this the next time we face them. We cannot afford to do this really again in the next 2 weeks. Because if it does, like, we're what? We're 7-9, right? After today's win, we're 7-9, I think. Yeah. So
7-8.
16. Sorry?
7-8.
7-8. Excuse me. I apologize. So 7-8. Yeah, you're playing sub 500 baseball because facts are facts. You need to win 2 out of, you need to win 3 of 5. And outside of Crochet's games, because I expect him to win every single time because he's an absolute star, you got to split 2 of 4. You can't afford to lose the first 2. That's too much pressure on the rest of the team. And these bats need to start going off because it's not acceptable with what's happening right now. Anything else you guys want to add?
I think we're 8-9, actually. I'll just add that.
Okay. I might say I'm not looking at it right now. Yeah, I might
No,
be, yeah,
no, yeah,
8-9.
no.
I'm sorry. You're right. 8-9. I apologize. I'm not looking at it. I just know that we're taking L's.
Your point is still true. It doesn't matter. I just was thinking.
You're totally right. Yeah. We can't afford to have this for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be really PO'd if this happens because you can't afford to be out of a race in the first month of the season. You know, this is the Boston Red Sox. We were supposed to retool, regroup, revamp, have the hungriest team since 2018. And we have a lot of great tools and a lot of great players that all need to turn the light green and start going off. We can't just have one game where it's Christmas against the Cardinals, a team that's like depleted to nothing, and, you know, go off and then them think that that's okay. You can't, you know, blow it in one game and then be done. So I would rather you have 6-7 runs for 4 straight games than 24-1 and then get shut out in the next 3. That's all I'm going to say.
That's been the most frustrating part about the season, right? It's like, this season, at least the start of this season, has been there for the taking for this team. The Yankees, who got off to a blistering hot start, have absolutely sputtered, out of control at this point to a certain degree, right? And then the Orioles are not nearly as good as anyone thought they were going to be. The Rays are the Rays. And the Blue Jays, if we just split with the Blue Jays, we're in first place right now, right? And it's a completely, and then God forbid we won this series. Like, the season's a completely different season at this point. But yet here we are for like the 4th or 5th year in a row where it's like we're kind of in it, but we've let it slip away. The other teams haven't really run away with it. And we're like, oh man, if they just string a couple of series together, this is our division. But we all know the last couple of years it hasn't happened, and then we get hot and it's too late. So let's hope it turns around, but it's getting pretty old quick.
Yeah, I'm with you. Jeremy, anything else to add?
No, I agree. It's frustrating.
Cool.
That's why I started with that word.
Yeah, that's it. Frustrating. Let's hope that the rest of the month is a lot better than what we've seen so far. Sox after 17, 8-9. For all of our loyal listeners, thank you so much. Have a great one. We'll chat with you soon. Take care.